Alrighty guys, what is up and welcome to the next episode of something that's a little bit new. This is actually going to be a tips and tricks video for any newcomers in the game, or even for anybody who's potentially maybe unaware of some of this. I'm going to be giving you all of the knowledge that I've acquired over I want to say like 8 months that I've been on this game. I've learned a lot. This isn't going to be in regards to skills, but we will release a video in the future on skills. And kind of like a ranking system for what skills you really want, what skills you don't want. But something for like that video would it kind of changes every once in a while because some of the skills become less usable than others. But that's more of it's not really a guarantee because like a lot of skills don't really tell you what they're doing. Like for instance, Slugger Instinct, you don't really know that it's doing what it's doing, but it could be. And for videos like, or for things like Charisma, you already know that for sure it's going to decrease the stats of the opposing pitcher. But there's also ones like Silver Skills, like Heavy Hitter, where it's supposedly it increases your slug and stuff. But again, it's something that you just can't really measure outside of kind of a figurative measure. But this isn't going to be anything on skills. It's just going to be everything in this game that you can use and abuse to your power with all of your time, I guess. So before we get today's video started, I'd appreciate it big time if y'all could drop a like down below. Obviously, the more likes that we get on this video, the more it can actually be passed around to new players and things. So I'd absolutely love if this video could get around just so that we can get some new players into this game and help build a bigger community for this game. And obviously, one way to do that is to help people out and make them understand how to build a better team. And hopefully that's what's going to drive them to wanting to build a better team. You kind of have to understand what you're doing in this game in order to build. So if we can get more than the 20 likes that I typically require or request, I guess, because 20 likes is already a fantastic number for a person like me who has a smaller channel. And it truly helps the more likes you get. So I'd appreciate it big time if y'all could just drop a like down below if you haven't yet. Be sure to drop a like. Additionally, I'm doing live streams pretty much almost daily on Twitch. We're doing pretty much 7 days a week. Today is the only day that I actually haven't yet, but I'm about to. So just wanted to make this video before I did that and get ahead of the curve with all of the videos. So I'd appreciate if y'all could go into the link in the description box below and drop a follow on my Twitch, as I'm currently pushing for the 50 followers, as I had just recently opened up a Twitch account. And we're trying to get to Twitch affiliate. All I'm missing left is the 50 followers. So I'd appreciate it big time if y'all could go and drop a follow. And be sure to hit that sub. About 50% of you guys who are watching my videos aren't subbed to the channel just yet. And if you see yourself coming back, obviously, I'd appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to hit the notification bell to receive all my future videos, daily uploads every single day at 6:30 a.m. We're doing double uploads on occasion from some days of the week. So I'd appreciate it. Let's get on to some tips and tricks. So I'm going to be looking to the right a little bit because I do have it all written down here because I need to kind of get it in a way where I can give it to you guys in a timely order. So we're going to start off with in-game simulations. So when you go into this section here, obviously when you start the game, you're going to be in a different screen. It's not going to be the league I'm in currently. So if you go to league reset here, you'll start off with normal, which is going to be 2022. And the further you progress, obviously, the better the rewards are. So for instance, once you get into Masters League is when you can start accumulating black diamond pieces. I'm not sure if player upgrade tickets are on that as well, but everything gets a lot better once you get into Masters 2022. Now, obviously, if you have a weaker team, it's going to be a lot harder for you to win games in Masters League. So one thing that would typically happen on something like that, for instance, when you have a game like this, if you hit Quickplay, it'll simulate the game and you can get up to, well, anywhere between 0 to 4 rewards. Now, the 4 rewards matter based on your club. So if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it depends on what club level you're in. And if you go to club crafting, you'll see, I think it shows here where what levels do. No, it's not this one here. So let's try Clubhouse. Okay, so club benefits. Current club right now we're in, which is my club here, Ballpark Pros. If you'd like to join us, feel free to. We're currently at 18 out of 20, so we're missing 2 more players. But to club benefits, I believe this is the one where it increases. Yeah, so league mode, reward box, +1. So this, you have to be in a club that's level 3, and you can get up to 4 rewards from what I understand, because typically it's 3. But once you get into a club that has level 3, you can then get up to 4 points of four rewards. So I want to start off by showing you guys what that looks like. But before we do that, I wanted to show you guys the next part, which is equipment. So one of the things that I like to do is throw on some equipment whenever I simulate my games. So typically I'm simulating 15 games at a time because it's usually how much the refresh is. So I'll put in, even if it's bronze ones, I'll put in bronze ones, even if, you know, anything that has over 15, I'll typically just throw them on in there, and just accumulate whatever I can, because yeah, it's only +1 on the specific stat, but it's helpful. You know, it could be the difference between you getting 2 rewards to 3 rewards, or 3 rewards to 4 rewards. Now, is it really that big of a difference? No, but it doesn't hurt you to have the extra stat. So that's one of the things I like to do before getting into every game. Now, another thing I like to do is condition. Obviously, conditioning isn't very cheap, so for every 100 you buy, it's 90,000. So for instance, like that, what I'll do is I'll typically always have my starting pitchers. You can put them all on. It doesn't take away 5 conditioning for every game you play. It only takes away the conditioning from the starting pitcher who's actually getting in the game. Now, I like to put these all already on always use, because it'll always put them to the highest form of conditioning. I don't do any relievers, because if you put in for the relievers, they will take out all, 7. And some of these relievers might not ever get in if you have a strong rotation. Especially for me, my team is pretty strong, so Marichal usually pitches all 9 innings, and if not, he gets out for the 8th. And we have a very good closer that can close out the game even without the increased conditioning. Now, what does conditioning do? I'm going to show you quickly, but let's go to our lineup and show it to you. What conditioning does is it increases all your stats by +5. Now, some players will be down on conditioning. For instance, like Newcomb here. He's down on conditioning, so if I put conditioning on him, I would have to condition him twice in order to get him to an up in conditioning. Now what that does is it adds 5 points to every stat on here. So I would get 5 if I condition him once to even. He'd get a 105, 104, 78, 101, 104, and then a 102. If I condition him again, it'll be a +10 on every stat, because it goes up by 5 per conditioning. Now, I'm going to show that to you guys quickly. Let's look at Marichal real quick. He's a 138, 127. So we're just going to go based on the first 2 stats. So 138 and 137. We're going to go and quickly condition him once, and we're going to hit use. So now it'll condition him upwards, and now it won't allow you to condition him anymore because he's already at max. Now we are at 138, 127. And now if you look at his stats, it's a 143, 132. So every stat goes up by 5, and this is him at his highest he could possibly be, along with some of the conditioning, which is already included here. If you go into your stats, I forgot where it shows, right here. So with the gear that we put in, we got 1 velo, 1 stam, and 1 break. It adds to his stats, and it just gives you the best chance to having the highest rated player available. Now, what I like to do, as mentioned, I like to go to the conditioning, and I like to turn on every single one of the starting pitchers. And for me, typically, it's usually just the first 3 batters. Now, if you condition them every single game for 15 games, let's say they're all on an even, you're using 4 conditioning per game because it's 1 per pitcher, and then obviously along with the rotation you're going to keep using 1. So you're using 15 for your pitching unit, and then 1 per player. So 3 by 15 is 45. You're using 60 total conditioning. Now conditioning is pretty easy to come across. You'll usually pick them up rather simply, or you could just condition a lower amount of players. So if I really wanted to only condition 1 batter, just so I could save conditioning and it can last a longer period of time, you always want to go with conditioning on pitching, in my opinion, just to maximize the stats, because pitching in this game really matters. And if your pitcher goes all the way, you're usually going to get about 2 rewards, I want to say, comfortably off of that. And then if your hitters you need a couple of home runs, I would probably condition chipper. But for this instance, we'll do this. We'll make sure that always uses on, and then we'll pop it open. So one thing I normally do is I go over to next schedule and I simulate games in a way where this will say usually 15 out of 15. You go to Quickplay, you press on Quickplay, you hit auto game, and then when you auto game, it'll tell you how many games you want to simulate. You just put all 15. There'll be like a drag down bar And I usually just simulate all 15. At the end of the 15 games, it'll open up a big screen that shows you all of the rewards you've accumulated throughout the 15 games. Now, that's one of the things that's a really good way to go about it. Another way to go about it is if you have just one account, I highly recommend doing it this way. Now, the way I do it is you usually want to take out Quickplay. These are just, it doubles up the points you gain per game. So I usually turn these on whenever I have 15 or more. I just usually do them for the simulator. I figure it's a couple extra points that it'll add to my account, might as well. But one really good way to use this properly is to go and condition your players. Now, typically what I like to do whenever I'm doing a form of simulation that I'm going to show you now, which is the manual simulation, I usually condition every one of my hitters and then my pitcher, whoever's playing in the game. I'll condition them so that everybody has the maximum stats. Now, the way I do it is I go to next, we take off quick play. Obviously, if you have this, plug it in. If not, then don't. You could also reward item rate up, which is a pretty simple way of doing it. So it'll just quickly show you an ad. For instance, like this, you can wait out the timer. And once you're done with that, usually it'll, I can't even exit, but we'll let it finish out. But usually this will increase the rate of what drops and you get from a game. So I don't know how reasonable this is or not, but it's a decent way of doing it, I guess. You might as well pop it open. You get 3 of them per day. So the refresh happens for me at 9 p.m., which is Pacific Standard Time. So you just exit out of this, and now you have the rate of items from the gift box will be adjusted. So who knows what that does, but it says rate up, so you never know. It could actually do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate these games now, and I'm going to show you how I would do it manually, and then we'll show you the rewards at the end of it. So I have every single one of these players plugged in with a check mark. Now they'll all be conditioned. Now we go to next, we hit this, obviously we want that on, and you hit play ball. Now let me show you what you want to do after this point in order to try and maximize more rewards. Now typically you can only get up to 4 rewards simulating through quick play. With this form you can get up to 10, I think, or it's 11. I'm pretty sure it's 10. So what you want to do here is hit play all, and then you want to simulate through all of this or skip through all of this, and now you just want to hit auto. Now it's auto playing, you just leave it off, that's it. The game plays on its own, your players are pretty good usually at this point, and you just let this game finish out. You go to the 9th inning, game ends, we'll show you what the rewards look like at that point, just to give you guys a little glimpse. Obviously I have to wait until this game finishes, so I'll continue this recording as soon as this game is done so I can show you guys what it looks like. And now that this game has officially been completed, this is actually a really bad set for me. Well, a bad simulation for a match. Apologies, I just finished eating. But it's a bad set because it's only a 6-1 game. But we did allow 1 run and 3 hits. So if you look at the box score here, unfortunately I didn't record this at the exact time, but just before the game, once the game ends, it'll show you how many boxes you get, or rewards at least. And I think for this one we got 6 or 7, which is a pretty low amount. Typically you want to get the full 10, or I think it's 11 maybe. But yeah, so typically you can get a lot more. Once we press next here, it'll give us all of the rewards that we get. So that's 5, 6, so we got 6 total. And as you can see here by the points acquired, mission 9,680, it's been multiplied by 2, so we gained about, well, exactly 12,380 here, which is a good amount when you consider there's also these lottery tickets that'll probably make this overall about a 25,000 point overall increase. Now this is actually a really bad set of rewards, which is possible. You have a basic player pack, which isn't very good, especially once you get further into the game. And then you have a level reset ticket, which again isn't very good for me at this point, but we at least get 4 tickets, which will help us out with our points. But that's pretty much the gist of it. You do that enough times, you'll probably see yourself a couple of black diamond pieces. You could also manually play the games, which takes a bit longer because you have to put more focus onto it. But when I used to have less accounts, this was my means to getting more rewards, and how I managed to get a lot more rewards overall. So that's one way to do it. The other way, obviously this is the standard way. I'm going to show it to you guys now. One of my mistakes was typically whenever I simulate games manually that way, I usually put gold skills here. So I fill it out with the best ones, power, contact, and eye, and then for location, velo, and stam. Just to make sure the starting pitcher actually goes all the way through the game, because complete games is more important than getting your closer in. So typically you want to get a complete game because that gives you a really huge percentage of a box and the experience you need. So that's one of the highest forms of points you can gather. So yeah, typically do stam and location velo, and then for this it's obviously the power, contact, eye, and I usually put the gold ones because it's a +5 on every stat, so it really juices your players. But with that in mind, this is how I typically would normally simulate the 15 games. So I usually just do the main batters, I do all of the main pitchers, hit use, and then obviously I do the lower end equipment, being the gold, the bronze or silver, and then you hit next, you hit quick play, you take this off because you don't really need it, and you don't do the reward item unless you really want to do it manually, and then you just hit auto game, and I'm just going to show it to you here since we're here. Just kind of show you what it looks like while it's simulating, just to really give you an in-depth of it all. So usually at this point you just simulate the game and you're kind of just relaxing until the games are done. So usually I'll simulate all 15 games, put it on my second screen, and focus on what I'm doing in my main screen, and then just go about my day. So this is what it would look like. And you can get up to 4 rewards on this method. You can get up to 10 or 11 on the other method, which is the manual method. Now that one takes a little bit longer. It's about 22 to 23 minutes if you just shoot straight through. Obviously it gets longer based on how many runs are being scored, or shorter based on how many runs are not being scored or hits, and it's pretty much just the pitching units just wiping out the game. So this is one of those methods. And I'm going to show you what the box looks like at the end. So this is only game 1, so we've got one more game to simulate after this. Now the question is, which method do I like more? If you're running 1 or 2 accounts, absolutely the manual method. What I would do is I would simulate all of the, because typically your rotation will have your first and your second pitchers, in your starting pitching rotation will usually be your best pitchers. I would typically manually do those 2 games with your best pitchers, and then I would just simulate the auto simulation like this with the other 3 pitchers, because it's unlikely they're going to do complete games. It's unlikely they're really going to smack up the opposing team. So you want to usually do your main pitchers. So for instance, with me, my Atlanta pitchers are Marichal and Max Fried, who are my bread and butter of the rotation. I'll manually pitch those games, like not myself itself, but the autoplay that I showed you guys prior to this. And then for the last 3 pitchers, I've got Scherzer, Prime Kluber, and Anderson. So for those, I'll just quick play them this way and then redo it again. Once I get back to Marichal, who's the ace of the rotation, I'll do the autoplay manually. And then just let the autoplay play out the 9 innings and then just see how many rewards I get. But now that I'm running about 9 accounts now, it's not as easy for me to do them that way. Obviously, I'd like to, but reality is I've got to simulate through quite a few games. And for every 15 set that I simulate, it takes about 20 minutes. So it adds up in time real quick, especially because the way I do it is I actually do the 100-star refresh. Now I'm going to show you what that is. But as you can see, we get more rewards here. So let's say I were to simulate all 15 games. This is what it would look like. It'll show me everything, the wins, losses, how many items were obtained. So we got 3.5. We got a game where we got 4 of them, and we had a game where we got 3 of them. So these are the rewards. It tells you how many you get per. So basic packs, we got 2. We got a lottery free agent ticket where we got 1 of those. Gold gear draw. So this is one of the ways. And if you get a player who needs upgrading, it'll tell you player growth complete. So you can go and plug that in. And that's typically, it'll always show it, but sometimes it doesn't. So I would highly recommend making sure to look. See, for instance, like this, I didn't know about this, so luckily we went to go look, but it only told me about Wilson. So let's go and simulate or get that player. Let's punch in the point for this player. These aren't guaranteed skills on these players. I'm slowly working through them, but yeah, some of these players have pretty bad skills. So that's one way of doing it as well. which is the more simplified way. But what I'd also include is once you're out of games, once you hit play ball, you can either get league ball recharges, which usually come in the form of, you know, the events, etc., which we will get into later on. But what I usually do is I do the 100-point star refresh, because 100 stars is quite easy for me to get, especially when you complete the challenges, etc. You'll notice that you'll make about 100 stars per day. If you're running one account especially, you can easily get the 100 stars back. So you just punch this in, it refreshes your 15 games, and then I autoplay through that again. So I do about 30 games per account for every session per team. So yeah, that's one of the things. Now, those are the most efficient ways, in my opinion, to do this. And really, if you're running one team, absolutely do it the manual way. You know, simulate the first 5 games so that when you play the manual match, it'll refresh like 2 more games. Then you play the next manual match, it'll refresh 2 more games. And by that point, when you played 5 simulated games the quick way and then 2 simulated the manual autoplay way where you let it just play out, you've completed 7 games, and you'll still have about like 13 or 14 games still left over from the refreshes and stuff. And then you simulate 5 more or 3 more, and then you're back down to 11. You play 2 games, you're back up to 15. So it's a real easy way of making sure that you continue playing throughout the day, and you'll probably gather yourself like 100 rewards if you do it efficiently. And obviously, without even having to really think about it, you know, you'll have to set everything up and do everything that way, you know, every 20 minutes. And it is a little bit not time consuming, but it's more like you have to kind of remember to do that. Sometimes I forget and I just manually play them, and sometimes I forget and I come back 25 minutes later and I realize, oh, this game's already been done. So then I'll go and do it, and it's just an easy way of doing it. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your computer, whichever is easier for you. But that is the first set of matches that you play, and how I think you should simulate your matches, because it's the most efficient way. With that in mind, let's get on over to the next tips. Alrighty, now to quickly overview what I was mentioning with the 100 stars refresh. If you go over to achievements, you'll see that there are 4 missions typically, or 3, throughout the day every refresh. So check the FA market. All you do is you hit shortcut, you go to the free agent market, you can back out right away, and it instantly gives you this reward. The 20 missions are per, I guess, mission you complete throughout your league mode games. Very easy to do this within a 5-game period, usually 4 games. And then clutch hits mode is something we're going to review later on, but when you play a clutch hits mode game, you can complete this, and then it'll give you 30 stars just for completing that, right? So that's one way of getting the 30 back. Now another way is at battle mode, you have friend battles. You can get up to, depending on your level, your overall, I think, you can get, so team overall, the higher overall you have, the more stars you can accumulate. So for me right now, it's a 66 because we have a 105 overall. So I can get up to 66 stars plus the 30. That's already 96. You've pretty much already made your way to all of the stars. That's one of the methods. Now, typically most people only have about 50 available to them. So that's one way of making pretty much the standard stars that you would want. But in my opinion, you're losing a couple of stars over the possibility of getting 15 more games where you can get up to 60 more rewards. So in my opinion, it's a really good trade-off for a way to accumulate stars without losing pretty much about 5 to 10 per 100 refresh stars that you use. So it's a really effective method to making sure you get more achievement, which naturally should help your team improve, whether it's now or in a week. If you do that, you know, it builds up into something that, you know, in a week you could have 15 to 20 premium player packs that could naturally help your team. Now I'll show you how you could use those effectively, where if you don't get a diamond, you know, obviously because the silver and the gold are probably not going to help out, but those players could potentially give you an upgrade for a card that's in your team. And this is something I actually didn't figure out until much later when I first started, which was a mistake. But that's one of the tips, obviously, in how to make your stars back from that. Let's see what else we have here. Additionally, special shop or special mode. During the baseball season, you have something called Pick'em, where it'll show all of the games for the day. And the more you get correct in a row, you predict basically which team you think is going to win. And the more you get correct in a row, you can see the rewards down here. The higher streak you get, the better. I've only ever gotten to 8, so I've never actually completed it, but you can get a full GI off of getting 15 straight. You could get 13, and it gives you a SIG pack, and then you can get a diamond pack, ultimate player pack, and then this is team selective. So yeah, plenty of event points as well. You can get up to 500 through your first 6 correct, and for every correct one I think it's 50 points, and for every prediction you make it's 10 points they give you. So you could really add up your event points, which in turn you can use to getting packs and things like that. So let's jump on into that section to show you what that looks like. So for event points, obviously it goes based off of that. For event points you can get a SIG player pack, which I absolutely recommend picking up. Now you can only do this once. I don't know when it ends because this is my first season. It hasn't refreshed for me, so I'm assuming it's based on whenever maybe the baseball season starts, maybe off season. It's obviously not off season out actually. Maybe it's when the preseason starts, maybe it's when the regular baseball season starts. That's probably when it'll refresh. Now what I'm going to do is when I get to 7,500, because I only need 6,000 to get this, at 7,500 I'm going to get the premium vintage because I find that to be the most useful. Don't do the skill change tickets for 1,000. It takes a while to get to 1,000. Don't do that. Like, at least a premium vintage player pack, you have a chance of getting a legend player, which is obviously very, very useful. Skill training tickets will not be worth it here. Do not do skill training tickets, and you're not doing these packs. 3,500 is a ridiculous amount for a diamond pack. In my opinion, 1,500 is already a lot for this, but if you're going to do it on something, why not give yourself a chance to get a legend? So do that. Moving on over to mileage, which happens whenever you use stars, you gain mileage points. So for every 100 stars you use, you get 10 mileage points. And at the end, so pretty much the 4th week of every month, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there'll be something that'll show a green symbol on your screen, and it'll be like a circle green, which is the same symbol as this mileage thing, and it'll say ×2. You'll be getting double mileage, so for every 100 stars you use, now you'll be getting 20 as opposed to just the standard 10 if I'm not mistaken. So that's another way you can gather up mileage, is to wait until double mileage, which comes at the end of every month. It's the last Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of every month. So that's one way of getting something. It's 7,000 for a signature player pack. We are very close obviously on this account, as you can see. But that's the only real useful thing here. Now if you're a starter account and you decide to waste them, you could waste them on gold gear draw, but that's really not worth it. There's nothing here that's worth it. All-star player packs are terrible. Diamond packs not worth 3,000. Just keep saving over and over with signature player packs. You can get these as many times as you want, as long as you keep getting to the 7,000. You can get an unlimited amount of signature player packs. Now FP shop, you can gather every day this expires at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. A new thing pops up. So it's bronze lottery tickets, bronze equipment. It gives you 3 conditions per 450 used, and there's one more that I'm missing that I can't seem to remember off the top of my head. But you could also get these packs, but I would highly recommend not doing that. Now the way you can get these points is if you go to your friends list, and hopefully you have a good amount of friends added on your list, because every day it refreshes and you could just hit collect all down here, and it'll give you points for it. So on my main account where I have all 50 friends, I'm going to be able to tell you how much exactly it gives me, but it gives me about 1,500 per refresh, so it's pretty good. And it'll help you get, I usually only do it for the bronze gear. So whenever the bronze gear pops up, you could do it for lottery tickets. I think that's the best secondary option, because with lottery tickets, you never know. You could get a good amount of points out of them, and all it takes is just one lucky bronze ticket, and you can make yourself 100,000 points. And this is a very useful method for lower end teams, but I always go with the gear. I wait until it refreshes back into the gear, and then I just pick up a bunch of bronze gear just to have more for my simulations. Now moving on over to Rank Shop. With Rank Shop, I highly recommend only pretty much 2 things. The premium skill change ticket, because it's very difficult to get these and they refresh every 2 weeks. It costs 700 ranked points or ranked coins. Let me show you how to actually get these ranked coins. So over at battle mode, ranked battle, for every single one of these games you play, you gain a certain amount of points. The higher your rank is, so right now I'm an iron 1, and then I go over to B3, B2, B1. And for the rewards, obviously at the end, typically I'm currently only pretty much finishing about bronze 1, bronze 2. With these accounts, you know, at the end of every week, it's on Sunday at 5, no, excuse me, 8 p.m. So that's Pacific Standard Time. But the window closes at 5 p.m. if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it's 6. I think it's 6 p.m. actually. So the window closes for all your games to have been played, and then they lock in your position. So Bronze 1, it'll give you 2 team selective packs, 3 gold lottery tickets, and then 500 stars. Now, these add up. 500 seems like a little amount, but that day, usually on Sundays, every other Sunday especially, I'll be showing you what I mean by that. But the higher you go, the more points you get per match. So right now for Iron, I think you make about 8 ranked coins if you win the game. And then I think it's 2 or 4 for every loss. So you can pretty much stack these. You could just hit auto game here. It'll put all of these on check. And typically what I do is from Wednesday on over to Sunday, I usually start playing the games after Wednesday. So you hit auto game. And to me, I usually just don't use any equipment on the first one because it's really, really low rated teams. But once you start getting into this section, you start getting like these 108 teams and 108, 106. Obviously, my team's about a 105 right now. So the rest of these teams I should be able to beat, but the 108s is when it gets difficult. So what I'll do is I'll take out those 108s and the 106 here, and the rest of the teams are all lower rated than me. Maybe even this 103 I would take off. I would put no equipment, no conditioning, and just simulate. And then when I complete those games and I have just those remaining games left, what I'll do is I'll condition it the same way as I simulate my league mode games. So I'll put pretty much like the first 3 batters and then all of the pitchers. And then I'll condition those. I'll put in the bronze ones just to have a little bit of a stat boost, even silver if possible, but not golds. And then I'll simulate those games out with some conditioning to improve the abilities of my players, or to at least prove the overall to give myself the best chance of winning against those teams. So that's how you acquire ranked coins. Additionally, you could get these refreshes where it gives you ranked refreshes. You'll sometimes see this come in from rewards, whether it's because the provider messes up or something. They'll give you some of these random ones on occasion where maybe if the servers are down, they'll kind of give you guys some free rewards, and these could pop in. I have 3 of them now, but these don't happen too often, and I think I acquired these 3 over the past like month and a half-ish, 2 months. So they don't happen too often, but once you get to that point, you get ranked coins, which then leads you into this billboard here. And you can pick up all of these things here. Now, skill change tickets aren't too bad. And then on occasion, whenever you need an intermediate grade increase ticket or a minor grade increase ticket, this is a good place to get them, as it's quite easy. But typically, as I always mention, only thing I buy on this is premium skill change tickets, and then training. This is a very important part of the game that gives you that little bit more to help your team out. As you can see, this team, I don't have too much training on it yet, but we pretty much have max level on pitcher muscle training, which I think, in my opinion, is the most important one. I think it helps decrease the chance of power or home runs being hit out, so it decreases the percentage of that. As you can see, we have battle T training, focus training. Just max these out the best you can. They obviously get more and more expensive. Like, for instance, this is $1,500 for batter muscle training, and what that does for us is increases the flight distance of the ball hit by 8%, so a higher chance of getting a home run smacked out the park, which is important. And then batter muscle training, I believe, is to decrease the flight distance. And then after that, you can kind of just take a peek at what else you think is important, but to me, these are the 2 ones that I really, really care about. Obviously, catcher training is okay, not going to really do too much for you, but strategy, execution training, not the greatest. Base stealing drills, you're simulating games, so usually base stealing isn't like one of the priorities. Fielder throwing drills, obviously very decent. Field coverage training, obviously very decent, but the ones I think I'm focused on now is batting T training, which is the chance of hitting the ball with the center of the bat will increase by 7.5%. And then focus training, your chances of getting a hit will be increased by 6% when you hit a ball that's outside of the strike zone. Imagine bad ball hitter with this maxed out. You could really start to rake some pitches out of there. Obviously Pioneer would be helpful with this. Slugger Instinct would be helpful with this. But a lot of these are very, very helpful. Don't be underwhelmed by the percentage. Because 8% is still 8%. Now, obviously, let's say you only leveled it up once, it'll say 1%. You're going to be thinking to yourself, it's not going to really do too much. But over the course of time, you'll start to see that, and this will eventually get to 10%. So that's quite important in this game, in my opinion. And I think you should definitely consider focusing on training and definitely picking up every premium skill change ticket that pops in every 2 weeks. So we'll move on over to the next tips that I believe you should know about. Alrighty, and one of the aspects in this game that's quite important is actually the training for every card that you have. So for instance, my Chipper Jones here, if you press on the card and you just press in this little section here, it'll show you something called development, which is where you train the card, or the stats that you trained up for your card. So for instance, 12, 16, 13. This is very important because we have something called special training. Now I'll explain how that works here. It's based off of whatever stat that you develop to the highest. So for instance, because the highest train I have is to power with 16 on it, as you can see, and then the second highest is I, which is 13, and then contact, which is 12. When special training gets invested, it invests into the stats that are the highest first. So I have a +6 here. As you can see through special training, I'm at a level 6 out of 10. I'm going to show you exactly where that section is. But pretty much training is a very important part of this game, and I'm going to quickly show you what that looks like here. Let's go and do... Okay, perfect. We're going to do something here. I'm going to show you guys what this looks like in terms of training these cards. Now, hopefully I have a player upgrade ticket here. I do not. Okay, this is a little bit awkward. We do not have a player upgrade ticket, but let's see if we can go and get a card upgraded. Now here's where I was mentioning the upgrades are very important with those premium player packs that you could potentially be gathering in the future. One of those things that you could really work on is, you know what, I have an idea. Let's just go do this. Make our lives a little bit easier, and let's just go and reset a player to level 1, and then show you guys what that training would look like if you were to do it manually. So let's just go and do this card. Okay, and now let's go and train him up ourselves together. So where the training section is, these level reset tickets are used to reset them to level 1. These come in handy when you get a really bad train on a card, which we're about to show you guys. So when you go over here, you go to train, you'll be able to train out your card up to level, whatever level you have. Now player upgrade tickets are useful here because it gives you 2 points for every player upgrade ticket you use. So if your card is at level 10, you can use player upgrade tickets to get to level 12, etc. and so forth. Now another place you could do it is whenever you get that card, that player. So for instance, let's say if I get a Josh Donaldson, right? If I get like his gold, silver, bronze, or even a basic, where it'll pop up here in this section, in the upgrade section, you can also upgrade your card that way. Now it's not a guarantee unless you use, so for instance, like he's one of my bench players, but we'll use him, right? So he's a level 16 out of 18 right now. He was a player who used to be in my unit, and then here we can, as you can see, you can do a normal upgrade, but it's not a guarantee to work. The other one is guaranteed stars upgrade. Don't do this, not worth it. Normal upgrade's the way to go, so you just do this and you'll know if it works. So red obviously shows it didn't work, it didn't work. But if it upgrades, it'll shine a little brighter than that, and then you'll be able to see that. Now, that's one way to get your card to level 20, which is the max way. And then when you do that, you go and pick the card that you want to upgrade. You hit normal training here, which will train out your card. So we got a +1 on contact, speed, and field. Obviously, it's not the best stat. You really want them on contact, power, I, and then when it's pitching, you want it on location, velo, and then fastball, break, and then as little as you can on stamina. We will make a video more in depth on that in the future. Another way you could do this train is, instead of pressing normal training to go through them all one by one, hit select level training, pop it over to 10, hit start training, and this is what it'll look like. So it'll start upgrading the card for us manually. Even if it fails, it'll keep trying over and over again. This is one of those times I want to see a fail. All right, well, we've passed everyone. Okay, so there you can see it failed, and now it'll just keep trying until it gets to level 10, and pretty much you can level up the card this way the easiest. Obviously, this doesn't look like the greatest train, and it'll show you the development. We have 9 on fielding, which isn't the greatest, 4 on speed, which is also isn't the greatest. But as you can see, that's the way you can train your cards up. what else do we have? Additionally, there's some things that you get in this game, which are these tickets here. If you go to inventory and you scroll down, they're called amp tickets. Now these, we have contact plus 3 amp tickets, which is amp ticket number 1 and then 2, and each amp ticket gives you a specific stat increase. So one thing that you should know is when you're training cards, always train them to level 17 and then use 3 amp tickets so you can decide which stats you specifically want to go for. Now, I can't show you that here because I don't think I have a single card to 17, and I don't have a player upgrade ticket to be able to show you what that looks like. But what we'll do is we'll go and reset a card and then show you what that amp ticket will look like. Now, be aware that you can only use 3 of them. So if you use them at any of the lower levels, you have to keep training your card. You can only use 3 of them. So you can't use them after 17 if you use all 3 amp tickets prior to the level 17. So typically the rule is to train your card to level 17, find the train that you're comfortable with, and then add the amp tickets to the back end of it with 3 amp tickets that you decide to choose, and pop open those amp tickets. We'll make a more in-depth video on that in the future, but train your card to 17 and then use 3 amp tickets to get the stats that you want to add. So if it's a hitter, you could put all 9 points of contact, which is 3 contact from each stat amp ticket. You can use 3 of those bad boys and get 9 contact. You could use that on power, you could use that on eye, you could even use that on field and speed if that's really what you desire. But I feel like that's the most important things for that. And now let's go and show you another tip for this video. Apologies, but there's one more thing I actually wanted to add to this portion, which is in this menu here, you'll see special upgrades. Now, with special upgrades, when your card is a level 20 and you tap here, you can go and pick the player. So as you can see, he's level 20. You can press on this card and use these little experience boosters that you get. You can put in players. So obviously I have a lot of vintages here. I'm not going to be using the I'm not going to be using the vintages, and I'm definitely not using any of these players. Now, one thing you can do is you could just hit player, hit auto select, and just put in whatever it's showing available, right? So on this it says exclude special cards, which includes vintages, I guess like team cards, which is this one right here, exclude my team. So when I punch this in, as you can see, Turner is the only one that pops in. None of my team cards, none of the special cards, as you can see in this intermediate vintage, or excuse me, this vintage player pack or vintage player diamond. It won't include that. It won't include this Anderson. It won't include any of these special cards. But what it will include is all of these cards that aren't team cards, and you can hit start and gain your little bit of percentage, which every level you get an increase. So for items, we have all of these. We're going to punch all of them in as well. And as you can see, it costs points to do this. So that's why I mentioned it's quite important to get your points and just keep leveling up your card, because this does increase stats based on wherever you develop, being the highest to the second highest to the third highest. So on the next level up, it'll give me an increase in some of the skills that we have. So I could actually turn one of his skills to a level 7, and that's how you see some people who have skills that are level 7, level 8. So for instance, this card, it's a level 8 on my gold skills, and that's how you do it. You do it through special training. Level 6 will give you the level 7, and then level 10 will give you the final level, which is to get one of your gold skills to level 8. So that's another way. Another thing available here is under the same special grade upgrade menu, you have Black Diamond. I have 73 Black Diamond pieces. This is how you can turn a card into Black Diamond, which I'm not going to do yet for this video, but you could just do this and you could punch in all of these here. An additional thing that you can do, let me just see if I have any. Let's go to grade and see if we have any. Jones, Riley, Upton, and then Melanson. Do we have a Melanson? No, I don't think we even have an Upton here. So let's say if I had a Justin Upton in my roster and I have a gold Upton, if you go into this same section with special upgrade and Black Diamond, so like let's say I picked Justin Upton here and I hit OK, that gold Justin Upton will pop up over here. You can use that gold Justin Upton to give you yourself points to completing this card to Black Diamond. Now for every gold one you get 60, for every diamond one you get 240. So think of it like you need 60 pieces, right? So consider the 6,000 divided by the 60, or excuse me, divided by let's do 100, right? So it'll be 60 pieces, which is what you need. for every 60 you get, it's only 1% of the 60 you need, right? So you pretty much need 2 golds to get 1 black diamond piece. It's technically 1.2 black diamond pieces, but for every diamond that you punch into this, it gives you 2.4 pieces. So think of it like that. If you put in 2 golds into this card, that gives you a percentage into the black diamond piece. You save yourself 1 black diamond piece, which is helpful in the end, but nothing too crazy. But just a little tip, if you do have quite a few golds, like if we had 3 Adam Duvals that are gold, I'd punch them all in and it'd give me 1.8 pieces. I would have to wait until 1 more gold piece to make it 2. And then once I get to 2, I can just punch in the 58 remaining pieces and save myself a couple pieces that way. And on to what I think is the most important factor, is actually joining a club that makes sense for you. I would highly recommend joining a club, as it is the most important thing. Try to find a club with a high level, especially like a level 6 at the bare minimum, because at level 6 you're able to craft premium skill change tickets, and again, it's one of the more important ones. Club shop 10% discount, which is very good because everything you pick up is a 10% decrease in how much club coins you spend. But for level 7 premium FA tickets, they're cool, but they're not really anything crazy. If you're looking at premium free agent tickets and you're able to craft those at some point, then you've already got yourself a really good team. It wouldn't make sense that you'd even do these. And then development redistribution tickets, which is I can't seem to remember what these were. I think these were the tickets that you can once you get to level 20, you can use these tickets to randomly choose where they're going to put the next set. It kind of refreshes your level 20 without you having to actually waste points on it, and it just distributes the stats everywhere else. Now this is kind of cool, and this is typically how a lot of people get some of those crazy trains where they get like a 1 stam train or a 2 stamina train. These tickets are okay, but in my opinion, level 6 is really all you need, which currently our club is working on it. But prior to this, I was in clubs that were level 6, 7, 8. And decided to open up my own club, and I'm very thankful for everybody who's here. Again, if you'd like to be a part of my club, Ballpark Pros, feel free to send in your request and we'll throw you on into the team. We have 2 more slots, and if we run out of space here, I do have a second team which is being run by my Oakland A's team. It's Ballpark Pro 2, so instead of the S, just add a 2 at the end. We do need some people on that team as well, as that one's a less active team in terms of like comparison to this team, but that team is at level 3, I think, and this one's at 5. So I would highly recommend joining a level 6 club, because all of those rewards are quite important, and every time you play in your club, hopefully you have a pretty decent rating. You can go over to Club Battle and play out some matches. Now if you're a lower ranked team, I do recommend going to the bottom and just playing the lower ranked matches. For every game you play here, you get about is it 5 or 15? Don't know why my memory is not remembering this. I can't seem to remember how many points they give you. But for every win you gain, you get a certain amount of points. I think it's like 15. And then for every loss, I think it's like 5. I don't remember exactly, but this is the club coin here. And then always play your club challenges. Try to not screw these up, because it's quite important that you could try to get, I guess, as high as you really can. So for every game you play, you get a batter OPS and then a pitcher's whip. And from all of the players on your team, as you can see, we had SF Giants play it, and he had a .33 whip and a .22 whip. For every game that you play for this, you get 15 club coins, so you can get a maximum of 30 club coins every single day, every time it refreshes, except on Thursdays and Sundays. Sundays is when club battles are closed out, and Thursdays is kind of like the midweek break. So you can do these 5 times a week. You can get yourself 150 club coins, and at the end of every week, or excuse me, at the end of every 2 weeks, if you go over to match record, you get a pretty much, oh, sorry, wrong tab here. But if you go to match record, you'll see what rate your team is, your rank. Currently we're a silver 1, but this club usually finishes gold 3 every single week, or every single 2 weeks. And for every win you get some points, and they kind of add it up to your team, and then they see what rank you get. And then for rewards, we typically finish about gold 3, and on bad weeks when we're not all playing it, it's silver 1. And this is every 2 weeks. You get an extra 350. Typically we see about the 400 plus the 500 stars and the 1 ultimate player pack. Now it's important because every 2 weeks, whenever we get the ranked battle stars and then these, you're gaining 1,000 stars pretty much out of nowhere, like just influx in your account every 2 weeks. Now, if you do that every single 2 weeks, week in, week out, you're making 2,000 every month just off of playing these and your team just getting a rank. Plus the 500 you're getting every other week where you don't get rewards from this. You're making 3,000 stars where you can use those 3,000 stars every month at the end of every month to use on the double mileage, which then in turn can help you get some SIG packs, which is one way to increase your team. Obviously, you get a SIG and you get a card that's on your team. It's quite important. We'll show you what you can do with these SIGs that aren't your team. But now, once you do that, you can go over to event and you can go to Club Coins, which is Club Store. And in this section, I absolutely think it's, in my opinion, mandatory to get premium vintage player packs. You get 1 refresh per week. So you can pick up 1 every single Sunday whenever it refreshes. As you can see, I have 4 days left. It's currently Wednesday, so this will refresh on Sunday. And this is how I'm able to continue gaining more premium vintage player packs from those videos that I do, which is the legend hunting videos. So every 2 weeks, I gain at least 2 of these. And through simulating games, I could potentially get 1 or 2. And sometimes you get some for events, which we will show you. We will be getting 1 as well for this event that's currently here, which is the beginning of the month event. You could also do GI increase reset tickets here. I don't think they're worth it for 1,000 club coins. It's quite expensive. But one thing I always buy. Currently not doing it yet because I want to get to 1,400. I buy this for 500 and I buy both of these skill training tickets. Now you're probably going to be thinking, why do I need to get skill training tickets? Because whenever you eventually get those, the training and the skills that you want on a card that's getting to that point of endgame, you can instantly level it up. You need 9 skill training tickets, so you only can pick up 2 per week. I would highly recommend accumulating these and building it up. So that's where I think you should spend these. And then obviously, moving on back, you can go over here to club crafting, which is another place you could use these coins. And as you can see, you could do gold gear draws, which is, it makes you select your bronze or silver kits, plus 10,000 points and then 30 club coins to craft these. I don't think they're worth it. I don't think these stat app change tickets are worth it, but one thing I do think is worth it, especially when you're a starting team, is definitely do these team selective pitcher / batter diamond packs. You can select whether you want a pitcher or a batter, and it's a guaranteed team diamond card. It costs 1,000 club coins, and you can pretty much do this every 14 days. So let's say if I were to do it today, I would have to wait 14 days until I get the opportunity for this to refresh, which is plenty of time for you to get 1,000 club coins, pretty much. And you need just 1 diamond pack and 1 team selective pack. So I have my next refresh in 2 days and 9 hours. So with that in mind, that's why I'm waiting just to get to 1,400. So then I can buy the 2 skill training tickets and then have the 1,000 ready in case I want to do this again. So I would highly recommend that. Another thing you could do is team SIG packs. This is a lot further down the road, but you need your team cards. You need to put 2 team SIGs and 4,000 club coins in order to get a team SIG pack. Obviously, that's when you're much later down the road. And then, as mentioned before, your premium skill change tickets. You need 3 skill change tickets and 300 club coins to make a premium skill change ticket, which is very difficult to get these, especially if you're a free to play. So you want to be in a club that has level 6 so that you can actually create these. And I think it's every 2 weeks or it's every week. I don't remember because it's been some time, but that's one way. You definitely should do this, and you definitely should do this. These are pretty much the only 2 that you really need to do. Don't waste your time on these. 200 club coins is terribly high, and premium FA ticket, in my opinion, is pretty high. So yeah, I would definitely not do that. But that's where you can waste all of your club coins the right way, in my opinion. And let's go and show you what else we have available. Alrighty, now moving on over to arcade mode. Now this is something I don't do too much, but as you can see, there's something here called Hitcoin, which is another way of you being able to farm stuff. Now, because I have too many teams, I used to do this, but I just don't have enough time anymore to be able to manually play these. Now, you have to manually play these yourself. But some of the things that we have available here is clutch hits mode. I'm not going to get too in depth with what you have to do here, but you basically get into a game, and you, I think, have 5 batters, or is it 4, or maybe 6, and you basically have players who are on base, and you just try to, you're pretty much battling somebody else's team, and you're trying to score the most runs. They'll put players in scoring position, they'll put runners in scoring position, and you pretty much just have to like kind of manually play the game and hit it. And if you get a hit, obviously those runs will come on in. The more runs you score, obviously the higher chance you have of beating the other person who is going to do the same thing against your team. And the more you win, for every win, I think it's 6 points that you collect. Yeah, so for every win it's 6 points, for every tie it's 4 points, for every loss it's 2 points, and win by defaults are 1 point. When you get yourself to 70 points, now I think you can only play 10 games, if I'm not mistaken. Where does it show? Yeah, so 10 games, here we go. So once these 10 games are done, you can no longer refresh. You have to wait until they manually refresh. But once you get to the 70 points, they give you an extra 100 hit coins, 140, 210, 280. Obviously, it scales up higher with how many hit coins you can get. So that's one very efficient way of getting hit coins. I think it's pretty easy, especially if you're running one account, to do that. Very simple. Arcade mode. Now here's another one where you can also accumulate hit coins, but also for every time you complete one of these, so I've played one of them, I'm bronze 2 right now, I scored 1.8 million. I played one game, and for every time you play it, it gives you XP. And whenever you level up, obviously the higher you level up, so once you get to level 5, they give you 100 stars. Then level 10 is 100 conditioning. This one's a lot easier to do, and you only have 5 of them. So once you do all 5, you could actually, there are like reset tickets for hit coin for arcade mode. And as you can see, there's one here at level 20 where you could reset the 5 games again and then do another set of 5. So you could keep doing that, and the more points you get, obviously the better. Now, it's also weekly rewards here, so every Sunday it refreshes. I'm currently bronze 2, so at the end of the week, every Sunday, I will get 200 hit coins and then a premium player pack. Obviously, the higher you go. My main account, I'll probably get usually about golds, somewhere here in the golds. And I'll make 300, 320, or 340, and then you get an ultimate player pack as well as the end of the week rewards on Sundays. So this also will give you some hit coins, and it's a very efficient way to do it while also gaining some of these small rewards, which is another way you can make those 100 stars that you give up. With refreshes, it's fairly easy, and obviously the higher you go, the better you get. So level 70, you can get a premium vintage player pack, which gives you the higher chance of getting those legends. And as you can see, at level 65, the stars scale up to 200, 200 again, then you can get an ultimate player pack, skill change ticket, and then a diamond player pack. Now, just to add it in there, you could also buy the pass, which I think is like $30. I was gonna say 10, but when you buy the pass, it'll also unlock these. I wouldn't recommend this method in any way, but if you're gonna do it for $30, do I think it's worth it? I could see it being worth it. It gives you 3,000 stars, diamond special training, EXP times 3, premium vintage player packs, which is 3, 4 skill change tickets, 2 ultimate team selectives, which gives you a chance of getting a diamond, and you also get a guaranteed team selective diamond pack, and then a diamond pack. Now, do I think that's worth it? No, I've never done it. I don't think it's worth it, but that's one way you could do it if you're running one account and you're willing to pay to win your way there. That's one way to do it. And then finally, what I think is the best way to get hit coins is career mode. Now, if you hit Masters League and you punch it yes, it'll ask you to select a batter that you want to run. So for instance, in this case, I think I'm actually not even going to go Chip. I'm going to go with Acuna. Because he is, I think, in my opinion, the better batter. But we'll do it for Chip just because, obviously, I love Chipper Jones, so we're going to go for him. And for every game you play, you can play up to 20. They give you pretty much hit coins for it. I think it's like 10 hit coins, so you can make yourself like a good easy 200 by doing that. This is the most efficient way currently to do it, where you're gaining clutch hits points. And then at the end of the cycle, I think it's like a 30-day cycle. Yeah, season ends in 27 days. So you just keep playing out your 20 matches and just try and finish them as fast as you can. And pretty much you'll get stats, and your player will be ranked in a system against other people in the world. So the more hits you obviously get, the higher you'll be ranked in the world at that point of whatever you played. So this is really, in my opinion, the most efficient way. You could also change your batting order. Would highly recommend you moving him to the front, or maybe even second or third. I haven't really messed with this too much, but I've played one of them with my Angels deck when I used to have a little bit more time on hand to do this. And you just pretty much play out these games, and that's one way of getting clutch hits points. Now, moving on over to the Hitcoin shop, as you can see, there's multiple ways of being able to pick up stuff. In my opinion, really, I think the premium skill change ticket is number one. You absolutely should do that. And player upgrade tickets. Now, if you're in a higher rank like me, I no longer really need these tickets as they don't help me too much. But that is a very efficient way of getting them at a lower level, where you're playing through the game and you can help get your card to level 20, which is actually quite difficult in the lower ranks when you have a weaker team. But other than that, I really don't see anything else being too efficient. Team selective packs aren't too bad, I guess. But looking at the rest of these, even premium player packs, 5 of them for 150 each, isn't too bad. Skill change tickets isn't too bad as well. For 1500 you could get 5 skill change tickets, which isn't bad. And then for this 1200 you could get 3 diamond special EXP trainings. This is very good for your card and special upgrade that we had mentioned earlier. Diamond XP trainings are very, very high, and they give you quite a bit of experience, so that's one way you can use those. And let's move on over, now that we have mentioned everything for Clutch Hit Shop. Let's move on over to what I believe is my final training and tip. Alrighty, so you're probably wondering to yourselves, man, where do I spend these stars at then? Do I go to the store and do I pick up some stuff at the store with these stars? There are things in the shop here that you could pick up for stars. So for instance, if you go to special shop, excuse me, wrong one. I believe it's item. If you go to item, you can see that there are things that you could pick up here. And back in the day, what I used to do was I used to pick up these, which is the Battle Gear package. It gives me conditioning, which is 500 conditioning and 20 gold gear. But this is no longer an efficient way to use your stars. I'm going to be showing you what I believe is the best way to do it. If you go to items, you could also spend them this way. Player reserve expansion is a very important one, as it'll give you more cards that you can hold in your team. When you first start, I think it's like 60 that it gives you, and 60 slots really isn't a lot, especially when you're on a lower end. So I would highly recommend using some stars for player reserve expansion, and then backup player reserve. That's also a good one. That's where I throw all of my team cards. So if you go over to lineup, you'll see here it says backup players. So this is where I throw some of these team cards on into the backup. So for instance, I have a lot of cards here that I could use. So let's go and go by grade that I could throw into the back. So for instance, all of these, well, these are basic, so I'm only going to throw like these major ones. So as you can see, I could throw them here into the backup to clear up more space for me. All of these diamonds can also go into the backup. These two won't. These two will. This one will. So we'll move them all over to the backup. It just clears up a little bit more space for me to work with. And typically I'll even put the vintages over to the backup, but we're going to keep these here for now. And it just helps you clear up some space, and then whenever you get a card, you can go on over to the backup and look for them. So let's say if I have some Donaldsons back there, I can go in and pretty much set it up so that when I hit time, I can go by name, and then we can go to J for Josh Donaldson, or let's say I get a Craig Kimbrell. I can pick up all these Kimbrells and move them over to this side. So I just press on them, hit this side, they'll move them over to the left, and then I can go to upgrades and then upgrade my Craig Kimbrell that way. So it just helps clear up some space for you, and it makes it a little bit easier for you to manage some of the spacings, which is, I think, an important part of this game. Just in terms of like tidiness, it helps with that. Let's see what else we have. So one thing about this game that I had mentioned, it's kind of like the rank training. You definitely want to do these mentors. Now this is something I never really focused on back in the day, but it's quite important. So for instance, I have increased the chances of the batter number 3, 4, and 5 getting an extra base hit when there are runners. So naturally, you just plug in some very weak, low rated cards, and then you complete them as you go. But this does also cost stars to do. So this is an effective way of wasting some of those stars, is by, you know, doing some of these mentors. And I think this one's like 50 stars to do, and the next one's 100. and then it scales down to like, you know, 150, 400, something like that. So for instance, if I were to do this one, which we are currently trying to complete, that's what we're focused on now. And then once you get further and further down at level 20, all stats +1 when the signature pitcher's team registered on the lineup matches my team. So it just gives you slight increases in stats, kind of similar to the ranked training. And think of it that way. This is a very, very efficient way of increasing it. I'm sure there's plenty of videos out there showing you what are the best ones to level up. I didn't really look too much into that. I kind of just decided what I felt was best for the team. So for instance, this one increases the defending speed of infielders if there's a runner in scoring position. The other one we could have gotten was once per game increase the chances of getting an infield hit on bunt attempts. Not something I'd imagine my team's going to be doing too much, so I'd rather get the defender speed increased to help with my defense, to maybe even protect ourselves and even limit how many runs are scored, or even not allow any runs at all based on some of that luck. So I would highly, highly recommend Mentor. And finally, the last portion, combos. So typically with this, you can do combinations where you select a group of 3 players, and you can combine them kind of like this, and you'll get a player back in return from that combination. Now, you could also do, for instance, I'm going to waste a couple of these, but I don't mind it. You could do 3 gold ones, which in turn could give you a diamond. So let's go and see if we can get lucky out of this one. So as you can see, when it does that, it gives you the option of these 7 cards. Obviously, you want the diamond, so this is the Tapia. When you press on the screen, they'll kind of shuffle the cards and close them, and you have to guess which one it is. And we actually got the Tapia, so pretty cool. Pretty cool to do that on the video for you guys, but you can do that as one form and method to doing it. Now, another thing that I had mentioned earlier was SIG cards. So when you get non-team SIG cards, you want to do them here. You'll put all 3, like let's say these were all 3 SIG cards. It'll then tell me I can combine them by special combination, which I think SIG cards do 700 stars per, which is obviously where you absolutely want to spend your stars. Don't spend them anywhere else, because if you do get that luck and that one card that pops up from these 3 combos is actually a card that is usable for your team, or if it's a team card, and then you get a GI ticket, you know, for instance, you can really, really improve your team by doing it this way. Now, one other thing is I do vintage combos, so these 3 silvers, and you do special combinations. If you're interested in seeing what I do there, be sure to go and check out some of my legend hunting videos. We will leave that in the description down below. It's a really exciting way of me trying to get legends or even diamond vintages. And we've had some luck. That's where I got the Chipper Jones from, which is a player on this team that you would have seen already. We got him actually through a combo where we got a silver edition of him, and then we upgraded him to diamond through the free diamond that they gave us, the GI upgrade. So this is one way you should absolutely do it. This is where you should waste your stars. You could also do prime ones, which again I will leave a link in the description box to a video I made recently where I did some prime upgrades as well. And then what was the part that I wanted to show you guys? It was events, correct. We have events here, the February 7-day check-in event, which is the beginning of February. As you can see, this is where I got one of the league ball recharges. You can also get a premium vintage player pack on day 6. And then day 7, you can get a premium skill change ticket, which is very, very nice because, again, these are very difficult to come by. And then you have some of the more mediocre ones being challenge boosters. It gives you 2 challenge boosters. And then it gives you a level reset ticket and then 2 gold lottery tickets. So not the best, but you also have the beginning of the month check-ins, which is a 30-day check-in. Well, 30, 31, or 28, depending on what month you're in. So for this month, we have 28 days, I believe, unless this is the one time in the 4 years that we have 29 days. But we've day 25, which is a blue skill change ticket, which are very difficult to come by. You're going to see a green ticket and a blue ticket. This is what higher end players use. So whenever you use those premium skill change tickets on a black diamond card and you get a legend ticket or a legend skill, the green tickets will switch the other 2 skills that you don't want to keep. So let's say I get a really high-end legend skill and I have 2 really unusable ones. The green ticket will provide you a switch on those other 2 unusable ones until you eventually get one that's usable, and the blue ticket will switch over one of those skills that you don't like. So if you're curious about that, be sure to go and check out videos that I have titled where I use blues and green tickets. You can see how those work. We will also leave a link in the description box below. If you're curious to figure out how that works, I will find one of my more recent videos that I use blues and greens, and you can kind of see how that whole thing works. So you can also get all of these here with 100,000 points, premium skill change tickets, very, very useful again. And then you also have these big ones where you can get these really huge gear drops, etc. So that's one of them. And then we have the event for off season. Always be sure to check your events. For this one here, we accumulate 100 points per day. I don't know how long it takes, but I'm guessing it's the end of every month where it resets. So you could honestly just get yourself another premium skill change tickets only one time can you do this, but in 4 days after we accumulate 100 points per day for 4 days, you can get 400 points and get a premium skill change ticket this way. You could also pick up any one of these other ones here. You could also do this portion here, which is you pick your team, you pick what kind of card you want, whether it's a vintage, a prime, or even a basic. You can pick the rank it is, silver and gold, and then you could even pick the position, and then you can collect it. I've not done this yet as I did miss out. I went to collect everything down here before. I didn't know it resets, so unfortunately I guess it recently reset for us, so we'll have to go through this again and test it out. But that's another way you could waste. You could properly accumulate more rewards for yourself, which is through the events tabs. And pretty much they change these events pretty often during the regular season, the baseball season, when the actual baseball season is active. So yeah, that's one thing you could do there. And then for achievements, to quickly go through this rundown, highly recommend doing these. Play ranked battles 500 times, you get 2,000 points. Just look at whatever it is here that you need to do. So win the 2025 Master League season. This is too difficult for me with my current team. I won the 2024 one. I gained plenty of skill change tickets out of that. And be sure to look through every single one of these to see what you can gather. And I think that's a very effective way of doing that. As you can tell by my voice, it's starting to disappear here because we've been going for quite some time. And then your mission box every Wednesday. Whenever you play a certain amount of games, these open up. And yeah, I would highly recommend those. Excuse me, guys. Let me just drink a quick water here. All right, feeling a lot better. When you're a starting team, obviously complete your guide missions. Would highly recommend completing those guide missions. This world record doesn't really matter, but I think that's pretty much everything that we have for this. Hopefully this was a very, very in-depth review on tips and tricks. I really went through pretty much everything. The next thing we'll probably release is skills, so you know what kind of skills you want on every card, and we'll kind of do a tier on what skills you really want on every card. If you guys would like to see that, just let me know in the description box, or excuse me, in the comment section if you'd like to see a video like that. Would absolutely appreciate if you guys could drop a like down below, as it does help me out. And I'd like to know if you guys actually enjoyed this kind of content. For any newcomers, you know, let's drop a like on this video so that we can get this video out to them if they're searching for a tips and tricks video. I'd love to be the person who kind of educates them a little bit on how this whole thing works. And yeah, I can't really think of what else I'd like to show you guys besides maybe skills in the future. And we'll kind of come out with some ideas for it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this style of video. I know it's not for everybody, and there's certain people out there who already have this game down to a T, and you're probably more knowledgeable than me. But this is pretty much what I've learned in the 8 to 10 months that I've been playing this game. And for anybody else who wants to enjoy this game, hopefully these tips actually help you out. So again, I'd appreciate it big time if y'all could drop a like down below if you haven't yet. Be sure to hit that sub if you enjoyed the content. And be sure to go into my poll on my community post to let me know what kind of team you want to see me run next, as I have been saving on an account for about 4 months now, and I want to run a new team. It looks like we're currently probably going with the Diamondbacks, but I'd like to get some more input. Be sure to leave a comment down below there. And again, I'd appreciate a big time if you guys could drop a follow on my Twitch, as I'm currently working very hard to get to 50 followers to become a Twitch affiliate. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this style of video, and I will see you guys for the next one. Peace.